All right, and what's good? What's popping? What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Xtreme Sports. I'm glad to be here on this evening. It's been a heavy past few weeks, especially with the Derek Chauvin murder trial, but we got through that yesterday with a conviction coming down yesterday, found guilty on all three counts. We're not really going to touch too much on that in this show. I believe I speak for everybody when I use the word relief, more so than anything, not necessarily a celebration. I'm not even going to call it happiness because this is something that should have happened anyway. And the fact that we were all on pins and needles, just sitting there hoping and praying that the right verdict had it came out is still a problem in and of itself. But all we can do is remain hopeful that yesterday was a start in the right direction of getting all of these cops out of the system who participate in these types of activities. So continue prayers to George Floyd's family. You know, nothing can bring George back. And of course, we all wish we could do anything possible to bring George back. So LeBron James used the right word on Twitter, and the state of Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison, he used the right word too when he said accountability, not justice, but accountability. And that's where we'll stand on this. Want to give a shout out really quickly. My brother Dolph is back in here with us. Our main co-host is here. One of our frequent guests, Eli West, is in the building. And I'm very pleased, I'm very honored to welcome Raianna Draper, aka SportsBaeRai, officially to the show as a member of the Xtreme Sports team. Ray, we're so happy to have you here.
Thank you.
Dolph, you got any words you want to add to anything that I said right there really quickly before we get started with tonight's topic at hand?
Definitely. I mean, of course, welcome to all our regular guests on the show, and definitely welcome to you, Ray, joining the family. We're glad to have you on board.
And Eli, I'm gonna send this one over to you real quickly because we are gonna get into our topic at hand tonight. But I saw your tweet yesterday. I retweeted it, and you were one of the people who I know was very outspoken with all of this social injustice and police brutality that took place last year. So just a few seconds if you want to echo any sentiments or add anything to what I had to say there in the beginning.
Pretty much you said it well. You know, it starts with one action. The action was made yesterday to hold these people accountable. By people, it's just police officers in general, whether white, black, Hispanic, just the killing of minorities and police officers using that badge to hide behind the justice system. Yesterday, my tweet was sent out is that this sets the precedent. That's all it is. You know, precedent is one of the things that we use in court is we can always look back and say this was a decision when we had a similar type case like this. This person was convicted on all three charges. So really does set the big standard for anyone going forward. We got a few more things left to do, as you mentioned. We got a few more people part of the same exact case that we have to go ahead and make sure that we do what's right for not only George Floyd's family, the community, and just minorities as a whole. So that's about it.
And I would be remiss if I did not mention the fact that the reason we can't sit here and celebrate is because just a few hours later, we learned about another tragic police-involved shooting of an unarmed child yesterday in Columbus, Ohio. Rest in peace to that young lady, sending all the prayers and best wishes we can to her family at this time. And it's just a lot that's going on in our world right now in general. We have a string of mass shootings that have taken place in the course of the past 15 days. So to everybody out there, you know, just keep your loved ones close to you. If you believe in religion, if you believe in spirituality, stay prayed up and do your best to just stay away from trouble. If anything just seems funny or it seems shaky out there, move away, get away. Just do what you got to do to protect you and yours. So that being said, let's get into tonight's topic at hand. We are going to be discussing the upcoming 2021 NFL draft. We got a lot of good prospects in this draft. I'm really excited for this draft. Last year's quarterback class wasn't nearly as exciting as this one is coming up. But we'll go ahead and we'll start with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm pretty sure we all are in alignment here with Trevor Lawrence is going to be the #1 overall pick. I don't care about the Kool-Aid that Chris Sims is drinking, talking about he would take Zach Wilson #1 over. No, we're going to stick with Trevor Lawrence here for a second. And not so much of the fact of him being picked number 1 overall, but the impact that you feel that he is immediately going to bring to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Before we touch on him really quickly, let's touch a little here on the Jags. They have a new general manager. They have a new head coach, Urban Meyer. He's never coached in the NFL before, but many people around the media, many of his friends, many of his colleagues, they feel that Urban should have made the jump to the NFL quite a while ago. So, Eli, I'm going to start with you on this one. What is the immediate impact that you feel that Sunshine, as they call him, Trevor Lawrence, is going to have in the NFL with the Jacksonville Jaguars?
Well, for me, I'm still, this is maybe a little bit different than everyone's opinion. I'm still a little skeptical on Trevor Lawrence and his ability to transition into the NFL. Dual threat, I enjoy the fact that he's a dual threat quarterback, bring that to Jacksonville and having the coach that they do have over there. Urban Meyer, as much as I do not enjoy him in college football, I can definitely say that it's definitely going to be a great addition. I think Trevor Lawrence has a chance to grow and actually prove himself at this next level, especially being on a team like Jacksonville after the season they've had. If he can sit there and turn this entire program around, man, I really think that this is really a landmark for him to be a franchise quarterback for the future of the Jags, because they definitely need one, and they need one now.
It should be mentioned that he has already signed a deal with Adidas. And when they came out with that notification last week, they said, along with our clients, Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes. So clearly they already have very high expectations for him. It should be also noted that Trevor Lawrence was hanging out at the Masters a couple of weeks ago with Patrick Mahomes. So he's already being viewed somewhat in that elite company, even though he hasn't even stepped on the NFL field yet. Dolph, I'm going to let you go last on this one, because I know you have some very fond memories of Urban Meyer. So I'm going to let you save that there towards the end. SportsBaeRai, go ahead and cook on this. What exactly do you think Sunshine is going to bring to Jacksonville immediately?
I like how everyone calls him Sunshine, because I definitely call him that. He has the height. He can see over his O-line. He definitely has the talent, dual threat quarterback. Jacksonville needs him, but, you just kind of don't want to see him go there. I feel like it's going to be, let me not say a waste, but I feel like Jacksonville is not going to develop him like how he should be. He is definitely a top-tier quarterback. He's proved that. It's kind of one of those things you guys see just how it plays out, and I don't think it's going to play out really great. Under Urban Meyer, not a bad coach, hasn't coached a team in some years, so you have kind of like a rusty coach. Offensive coordinator is a great guy, extremely talented. He knows what he's doing. Their defense is not bad, so he has, a proper team around him. It's just the fact that Jacksonville is just not going to uphold their end of the deal.
Well, here's what I'll say in regards to that before anybody else chimes in. Normally, I would agree with you on this, but the reason I'm going to just take a step back on it is because this is basically a new regime that's in Jacksonville. I feel like Tony Khan finally got not Tony Khan, but Shad Khan. Tony Khan is his son, who is a part of the organization, but he owns All Elite Wrestling, which is on TNT right now. But the Khan family, I feel like they finally have a chance to have the coach hired that they wanted to hire. Everyone knows that Doug Marrone is not the coach that they wanted to keep, but because of that success that they had in 2017, they probably thought that they could find magic in a bottle again, and they probably thought, okay, we can immediately try to bring this back, or maybe we can resalvage some things. When they got Blake Bortles out of there and they brought in Nick Foles, they thought they were moving in the right direction with that. I didn't, because I've never seen Nick Foles be a good quarterback in the NFL outside of wearing a Philadelphia Eagles uniform. But I feel like we should at least just take a step back maybe and just give this new regime a chance just to see what they're going to be. They've got a lot of draft picks to work with, and I knew that they were going to have to depend a lot more on those draft picks. I didn't care about Jacksonville's cap space coming in here. You haven't proven anything yet as an organization. Urban Meyer hasn't proven anything as an NFL coach yet for a top-tier free agent to say, oh, yeah, we'll go down to Jacksonville. And one of the main keys everyone was looking at was, well, it's Florida and there's no state tax. I live here. You're right. There is no state tax. But Jacksonville is not nearly as beautiful or intriguing as a town like Miami or Tampa when they could have chose to go to one of those two destinations. Lawrence, I see you on the call. My good brother, always good to talk with you. What are your thoughts on Trevor Lawrence's instant impact that he could have on Jacksonville?
For sure. So thanks for having me. I side with Eli, and since I'm not totally sold on Mans, it's kind of like, when you go to play football, Alabama, win a championship, it's kind of like you got all this stuff around you. So it's not like Clemson is one of them programs where, Trevor has to be phenomenal. I mean, he didn't even win a Heisman. Now, granted, he did. There was some stiff competition in his tenure, but if he's Mans who y'all said he is, he would at least win one. So I'm not completely sold on him. It'll be interesting to see him go to Jacksonville where, they had the first overall pick for a reason. So you don't have a well-played senior back in Travis Etienne anymore. You don't have reliable offensive linemen. You don't have reliable receivers or people that are hungry coming in as 5-star, 4-star prospects. So I feel like his impact, I'll put it, he's ahead of the curve if they win 8 games, 7 games. Like if he does that with them, he's ahead of the curve. But I look at him to have kind of the same impact Joe Burrow had his rookie year before he tore his ACL. I expect them to be in games, make a lot of games close, but ultimately still lose those games when it comes down to it. A lack thereof good skill players, him being a rookie and not necessarily knowing scoring in time and, how to really work a clock down, the typical growing pains. But I do see the potential in him to be an all-time great. I see the potential. Like it's been said already, it'll be good to see how his game goes against the NFL talent when everybody's a 5-star prospect. This is the cream of the crop, not Clemson versus Bama in the national championship game in the last game of the year.
I understand what you're saying there, but I want to go back to one point that Ray made because she was right on this one point that she did make here. He does have some pieces there around him. You said the receiving talent wasn't necessarily reliable. I'm not so sure about that. DJ Shark, Keelan Cole, these guys have some talent. James Robinson at running back, if his tackles can stay healthy, they are some of the more average tackles in the league. We've seen when they had Blake Bortles standing upright, not Blaine Gabbert, but Nick Foles was standing upright. Blaine Gabbert was gone at this point. But, they do have some talent there in Jacksonville. Their defense, I like Josh Allen and I like Miles Jack. They have to totally rebuild at secondary because they tore it apart for reasons that continue to remain unknown. But they have to continue to rebuild that defense as a whole. But they got 2 good building blocks right there with Josh Allen and Miles Jack that they can build with. Lawrence, you said 7 or 8 games. Honestly, I say 5 or 6 games would honestly be a success with this first-year head coach and this new regime coming in. I'm just saying we've seen teams that can take that big jump to 7 to 8 to 9 wins, but it's usually highly unlikely. And if they can just get to 5 and 6 wins and he can continue to progress as the season goes on, that's the key right there. How does he continue to look as the course of the 17-game season goes on? Dolph, go ahead and cook on this because I know you got a lot to say about your former Ohio State head coach, Urban Meyer.
Okay, I think all right, so I should be good. All right, yeah, so Lawrence, I think he'll definitely have an impact on their season this year. It's definitely, to your point, Xavier, it's not so much about them winning this year. It's just we got to see some type of progression from him. It's going to be – I think they got the right coach in Urban Meyer because he's going to come in something like what Baltimore kind of did with Lamar, where they kind of, fit that offense to suit his strength. So they can do that for Lawrence. They have a couple of guys there, as you mentioned. And also if they can kind of put a solid draft together, I think he'll have a pretty good year this year. But like you said, it's all about his progression. We got to see him get it better and better as the year goes. He definitely has the talent to be, an all-time great. But it's going to be, is this the right situation, the right coach? Is it the right system for him?
I definitely agree with that too. Ray, Eli, did you guys have any more points you wanted to make before we let our Jets fans go ahead and let their steam off on this next pick?
I have one last thing. I like what you guys said on the fact that really, Xavier, I was with Lawrence on this with like 7 to 8 games to prove yourself that you actually are a winner at this next level, like you were at Clemson, which is a big thing. But at the same time, 5 or 6 wins, depends on what the stats are looking like and how you look on your film. That is a bigger portion. And I definitely overlooked that. Definitely, I appreciate you bringing that point up because Trevor Lawrence, I think right now, he's how anybody else is when you're top, one pick and you're looking into the draft. You're there to move the franchise. And last year's franchise, absolute garbage. New administration, a lot of new people, a lot of new pieces moving in. But the biggest portion is, what does he look like throughout the progression of this season from start to finish? Does he look more comfortable? Does he still look shaken? Because we all know the season's going to start off shaken. No matter who you are, no matter what quarterback you are, how elite you were in college, first couple of games, it's going to be shaking. And end of the season. So I appreciate that bringing that up. That was definitely a good point.
And also, just one more major point I want to make about this. The other key for them, besides him continuing to progress throughout the season, you want him to remain healthy. You don't want another Joe Burrow situation where, and this was literally Cincinnati's fault for not putting quality offensive linemen around him, why he ended up suffering that season-ending injury that he did last season. But continue to progress and just stay healthy. And, we'll see where we can go from there. One of the keys that I'll say before we move on to the New York Jets and that number 2 overall pick, they have an advantage with Urban Meyer when it comes to this draft because I believe he will have control of the draft his first few years in Jacksonville, similar to how Pete Carroll had control of the draft his first few years in Seattle. He knew those players from top to bottom because he recruited most of them. So I believe it'll be that type of situation also with Urban Meyer. No, he hasn't coached in more than 2 years in the game now, but he still had his handprints all over what was going on at Ohio State and how they were recruiting and working in the athletic office and with the administration on those things. So I'm curious to see how this draft is going to play out for Jacksonville as a whole after we get past Trevor Lawrence. Now let's move on to the next. That would be the New York Jets. And I don't know how this has ended up happening, but Zach Wilson has leapfrogged Justin Fields as the number 2 overall quarterback prospect in this draft. I'm going to let Randolph and Eli cook on this first. Just maybe they can offer me some perspective on why their franchise is moving in this direction or why the media is moving in this direction. And I just don't get it.
Randolph, if you mind, I'll take this one first.
Go right ahead.
I appreciate that. As a diehard Jets fan, and I do mean diehard, so I will say that they moved on to kind of look towards, Zach Wilson, mainly because of Pro Day. We all saw it. Tapes was great. It looked comfortable. A lot of workout through that drills that he was doing. A lot of good talent in the athlete in general. I think that they're looking for someone that can come in and immediately make an impact at the quarterback position. And I think that's the biggest difference between both Justin Fields and Zach Wilson. I'm huge on Justin Fields. I've been saying Justin Fields since week 1 for the Jets. And I think Justin Fields has the ability, and he also has the attitude that New York needs. New York carries a different type of swagger. It requires a certain type of attitude, but also he has that youthness in him, and he looks like he's going to be more of a team leader rather than just a quarterback guy. So what I'm saying is Fields is more of a leader, and he has the ability to develop more and more with this team as a whole. But Zach Wilson, from a quarterback perspective, if you're looking for someone to just come in, play quarterback, and just get the job done at the the QB position, I would definitely say Zach Wilson. What he's shown me in some of his tapes, as well as his pro day, I mean, he's kind of set. He's got a lot of the assets that you need as a starting quarterback at the NFL level. But I do believe that he will crash and burn in New York the same way that our previous quarterback came in and was hyped up to be a great quarterback and crash and burn. So I do believe Justin Fields is getting overlooked, which becomes a better story for the long term, because I definitely believe Justin Fields has a lot more that we haven't seen yet.
Well, yeah, these guys got one job. I mean, I hear all your points there. We seen the tape on Wilson, at least the pro day. But for me, like I was telling you before, like I haven't seen anything that Zach Wilson has done that my guy Justin Fields really can't do. So I mean, for me, it's kind of like, to me, it was a no-brainer coming into the season after watching him all year last year. It's like, okay, cool. If we had that pick, we getting this guy Fields. And I definitely agree that he's with his stock falling. It's kind of like, why is that? I mean, I like his pro day. He had some slip-ups earlier in the season this year, but it's kind of like, for me, it's Justin Fields the whole way. I think Ohio State has this notion for their quarterbacks not being great, but then again, none of those guys were actually really NFL starting quarterback level coming out of college. I mean, Justin Fields to me by far is the best, hands down, and I think because of that notion, it's kind of affecting him as well. But for me, it's kind of like Fields is the pick. Like I really don't see why Zach Wilson has just kind of overtook him the way that he has. And it's kind of seeming like it's a no-brainer for them now, like they're going Wilson. But, I mean, until I hear that, it's Fields for me.
All right, Ray, I'm going to let you go ahead and cook on this because, like I said, I still don't get it. I'm going to put my 2 cents in on this in just a while. But, yeah, so far this is a Justin Fields stan account.
I definitely stand Justin Fields. I did watch Zach Wilson's pro day. When I think of the Jets, I think of a very old school system. And I can see why they're leaning more towards Zach, because all their quarterbacks traditionally they don't normally put up rushing yards. They're the traditional passing quarterback and typically kind of just run when they need to. Justin Fields is an overall athlete. He can get it done. He gives me, I don't want to say he gives me Lamar Jackson vibes, but he's close to it. From what we've seen in college, he's close to it. If I'm the Jets general manager, I'm going Justin Fields. It would be exciting to watch. You know how many people love him? Like, the Jets will actually have fans in the stadium. I think he's an eye grabber. He's an attention grabber. Zach Wilson, I don't want to say he's not that, but compared to Justin Fields, there's really no comparison at all.
Here's my thing when it comes to Zach Wilson. I'm not here to doubt anybody's talent. I'm not here to doubt anybody's ability. I'm just going to go based off the facts that I know. In his time at BYU, every time he played in a big game, a significant game, or against a ranked opponent, he came up short. And in Justin Fields' time at Ohio State, he rose up to the occasion almost every single time. Y'all, we watched Justin Fields in the college football playoff matchup just a few months ago against Trevor Lawrence and a vaunted Clemson team that everyone thought was going to go in and finish the season undefeated and beat Alabama. I didn't think that. But we watched this man's ribs get crushed, looked like he was done for the game, and he came out there. Not only did he continue to play, he outplayed Trevor Lawrence and Clemson's defense. So that showed me the heart, because I already knew the talent and the ability was there, but that showed me the heart and the leadership that this guy has. And Eli already alluded to it. He has the leadership. But I believe he has the game and the heart to match it too. And honestly, when I'm thinking about the Jets right now, the Jets need somebody back there in that position that has some heart.
That's what I spoke on. I said that Fields brings that attitude. To play in New York in general, whether you're on the Giants, whether you're on the Jets, you gotta have that attitude about you. I think Justin Fields provides that. Not only is he going to be a leader on and off the field, at the same time, I think Justin Fields really is more of like a New York style quarterback. Now I get it. The Jets' traditional quarterback would be Zach Wilson, 100%. If we're looking at what the Jets would draft, he looks like Zach Wilson. But in reality, the change program, we kind of got to go towards Justin Fields. He needs an entire change of how that locker room looks inside and out. And I think Justin Fields will provide something that we haven't seen in a very long time in New York.
And to that point, real quick, before you go, Lawrence, when I think of Saleh, the head coach, I think the personality of Fields would fit a lot better than Zach Wilson, at least in my opinion.
Well, I would say that, to me, Justin is the second best quarterback in the draft, without question. But I feel the key factor that we have to contribute is the racial stereotype that is on Black quarterbacks. And by any means, they will find a reason to downplay him. I've heard things talking about, oh, yeah, well, he wanted to play baseball. He was almost a baseball player at Ohio State as well, so his mechanics are off. But Kyler Murray went 9th overall in the MLB draft, and we didn't hear those complaints come up. In fact, we heard, well, he'll know how to slide because he does play baseball. Then you hear about, and then I also heard about Justin Fields, about his inaccuracy to work his progression because he only hit his first option every time. Well, then you hear people defend him talking about it's not his fault that the first wide receiver is always open for him at Ohio State. If I'm the Jets, the reason that I would take him is because, like was said, the film is there. He's playing against elite comp and big games. And you can't say that for Zach Wilson, but like X said, I'm not here to downplay anybody's ability because Zach played his tail off. It's not like Zach wouldn't be deserving of that number 2 pick, but I feel it'll really tell the direction of when the team's trying to go. If they're trying to be flashy and whatnot, I feel like they go for Zach. But if they want the safe pick, I feel like they go Justin Fields.
I agree with you on that. But here's one other point I want to make, because Dolph, you brought it up. This stigma that goes out there against these Ohio State quarterbacks. Outside of Steve Young, what BYU quarterback has ever come to the NFL and proven anything? See, that's the part I don't get when it comes to this. But, the Jets, they're going to make the move that they're going to make. Here's the plus that I will take in this whole thing for Zach Wilson that you could not necessarily say for Sam Darnold. He's going to go into a situation where he has better personnel. The Jets defense is better now than it was when Sam Darnold came in. They do have a few weapons out there on the outside. They do have an offensive line that they are building. And Robert Saleh will bring a new energy that Adam Gase was never going to have.
Okay, there you go. I was just about to say, like, for one, he actually has competent management, and then 2, he's going to have a competent head coach. I mean, for me, it's always going to be, my man Sam Darnold got sabotaged because they never put the people around him. They never put the people around him for him to succeed, including the head coach.
The only 2 people that I remember him actually throwing the ball to who had a chance to be effective receivers. One of them is, and another isn't right now because injuries have just taken a toll on him. Quincy Enunwa and Robbie Anderson. And how the Jets let Robbie Anderson walk out of that building when they didn't have another receiver on the roster that was even close to him, I don't understand. And he was also a restricted free agent, if I remember correctly. So they had his rights, but they let him go. So, we'll see. I don't want anybody here to think that this is a Zach Wilson bash fest because it's not. I just don't think he's the number 2 overall quarterback prospect, and clearly no one here really does either. Of course, Jets fans are just hoping for the best. If he comes out there and he proves to be Joe Namath 2.0, they'll love him. If he ends up just being another guy, we know how New York is going to handle that. But what if he comes in and he's able to be something close to maybe a Chad Pennington?
Okay, that's a long stretch for Zach Wilson.
I'm just saying.
We already talked about the big games, the stepping up. I think if given that type of comparison, I would need a winning season next year. I would need at least a playoff chance next year, a positive season. May not even have to make the playoffs, but at least a positive season. Something over 500. So I think that Zach Wilson's a good quarterback, and I think everyone on the same page with that is that he's a great quarterback, has the talent, has the abilities. But at the same time, I think we're all agreeing on it that the better quarterback in general and the one that's actually fit for this job, you want Lauren said it, like you want a safe pick for your franchise, it's going to be Justin Fields. But for Zach Wilson, at the same time, as much as that, Justin Fields is getting underlooked right now, Zach Wilson was very underlooked as well before this. He transitioned into this position that he's in now. He showed up at his pro day. That's one of the things that a lot of people are kind of trying to undermine is that like, they're trying to transition. Like he showed up. The scouts was watching and he showed up. He performed right when it mattered. To the league when it mattered. But at the same time, in college when it came to big games, when it mattered, we know how those games handled. But it gives me light at the end of the tunnel. And, for the Jets in general, as a Jets fan, you got 2 options at quarterback. Both are solid quarterbacks, and I can't complain either way. I believe that both quarterbacks have an opportunity to bring a different side of the Jets that we haven't seen. Zach Wilson has a better side than I haven't seen before out of Sam Darnold and Justin Fields as well. But you mentioned it. We had a lot of injuries. I'm a big Quincy Enunwa fan in general. But we've had a lot of injuries. Robbie Anderson is gone. Very big L for us. It's going to be hard to replace, almost impossible. I wish we had the 2nd and 3rd pick so we can pick up Jamar Devonta, but it's, out of our hands at this point. But I believe truly that, if Zach Wilson's given a chance, I think he'll actually go out there and he'll learn the ropes. I believe under this new coaching staff that we've got up there as well, I think that, he will really make a difference in a name for himself because in New York, you got to put up or shut up. So he's not going to get much of a second chance in this opportunity here.
Yeah, I also want to add at his pro day, that rollout that Zach threw, that was phenomenal. That was a phenomenal rollout, and the accuracy, the spin on it was beautiful. I didn't like that. It was kind of like because he did that, Justin was getting a lot of he was getting a lot of backlash for it, and then I know Justin had his after it, and then replicated the same throw. But it's like, okay, bro, but Zach did it first. Justin had a great field day on pro day too, but it's just to me that was pretty cool to see that. I didn't know Zach had that arm in him on the move on a backwards kick out.
I definitely understand all the points that y'all were saying right there. I do. But as we end this particular pick, we all agree that Justin Fields should be the number 2 overall pick because he is the number 2 overall quarterback prospect. Now let's move on to the number 3 overall pick, the San Francisco 49ers. And that's where I think Justin Fields is actually going to end up, even though all of the news reports indicate that we are wrong about that right now. Right now, everybody's saying Mac Jones or Trey Lance. Trey Lance had a phenomenal pro day too, but I can't really judge him because I didn't watch him in college. I feel the way about Mac Jones that I feel about some of the things we said about Trevor Lawrence. You're not going to have Alabama's offensive line. You're not going to have Nick Saban as a coach. You're not going to have Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle and those cast of receivers that you have there. You're not going to have Najee Harris coming out of the backfield. So how do I know that you're everything that you're being hyped up to be too? I just don't understand how he's also leapfrogging Justin Fields in this particular instance. The only thing that I will say is that he is the type of quarterback that Kyle Shanahan has been known to have success with. Now, I believe Kyle Shanahan can have that same type of success with somebody like Justin Fields as well, if not more. Because the way the NFL is going, you need to have a quarterback who can move in and out of the pocket. We see the trend that the quarterback is going in right now. Unless your name is Brady, you can't be a statue in the pocket anymore. Let's just keep that real. But everybody else is saying Mac Jones. I believe that's a smokescreen, and I believe that on draft night we will hear the San Francisco 49ers draft Justin Fields, number 3 overall. I've been wrong before. I might be wrong here, and it's probably not the last time I'll ever be wrong again. But I just don't see how Justin Fields is not selected over Mac Jones. I'm just having a hard time wrapping my head around that.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Of course, if the Jets do take Wilson, I think they will. San Francisco will take Fields. Like you said, I believe it's a really good fit for Fields with Shanahan. He'll definitely have success in the offense that they're running out there. And like you said, I don't see how Mac Jones would get picked over Fields just due to the fact that he had kind of everything laid out for him at Alabama. Definitely has talent, but like we all have stated here that he's not a better quarterback than Justin Fields, at least from the talent side.
Go ahead, Ray.
Justin Fields to the 49ers. I can see it. Are we like including the factors with the healthy Deebo Samuel or no? Because if he doesn't have a healthy wide receiver and a healthy running back, the O-line is fairly decent. It's not – Alabama is definitely not anything that he's accustomed to. There's potential there. I'm not really sold on Justin Fields going to the 49ers, though. That's not something I would go for. I'm more understanding to Mac Jones, a quarterback like Mac Jones going to the 49ers. You put him with a great receiver like Deebo Samuel, you have potential. Justin Fields, we all know, is a great quarterback, but look at that division. I don't see him kind of like surviving that division with his style of play.
Well, you also got to take into the fact that he would also be inheriting the best tight end in the game, in my opinion, Mr. George Kittle. So that's something to also consider right there. But
we talked about this X. It's Travis Kelce.
Like I said, this is my opinion on it. I believe George Kittle is the best tight end in the league right now. And we're going to touch on the tight end more than likely in just a few seconds. But I can understand where you're coming from with that, Ray. And the only reason I'm even being understanding to a slight degree about Mac Jones to the 49ers is the type of quarterback that Kyle Shanahan has had success with. We saw Kyle Shanahan have success with Matt Schaub in Houston and had people thinking that Matt Schaub was just a slight below top tier level quarterback. And he really wasn't. Because the minute Kyle Shanahan was gone from Houston, Matt Schaub's stats went down too. We saw him have success with Kirk Cousins in Washington. We saw him have success with RG3 in Washington in his rookie season before he got hurt. Took Matt Ryan to an MVP. Jimmy Garoppolo, when he was healthy, he went to a Super Bowl. And we've also seen instances where Nick Mullins can look like a respectable quarterback in that system. What they all have in common outside of RG3 is they all play a very similar way. They stand in the pocket. They may have a little athleticism, but are they going to be scrambling outside of the pocket a little close to 50% of the time? No. So I can see why that would be a scenario. I just don't see why you don't draft a quarterback that's leaning into the direction of what it is the NFL is going at in the direction with that position.
I mean, well, okay, when you look at all 32 NFL teams, I would roughly say maybe 8 or 9 of them are still stuck on your traditional quarterback play. I want a quarterback who can stand in the pocket, who can throw, you know, be like Tom Brady and, run when you need to. And the 49ers are still, like, they're still one of those teams. Like, even when Cap was there, Cap did not do a ton of running. He only ran when he needed to. Jimmy G, who I don't want to say he's their best quarterback because he's not, but Jimmy G, your standard quarterback. Justin Fields is a athlete. He runs, he can pass. I'm pretty sure if you want to try something fancy, he would be up to it. He's one of those athletes that you just you can't keep him in one spot in one place doing one thing. He has too much talent to do so. He is overall he's one of those type of players that you should want. And if I'm the 49ers GM, they're not going to go for it. They're not going to go for it, especially with the type of offense that they have right now. They're really not going for it.
I can definitely understand what you're saying there. And also by this being the Shanahan family that we know runs the 49ers, Mike and Kyle, I don't care about John Lynch being the general manager. We know who has the pull in that organization, Mike and Kyle Shanahan. We know the type of quarterbacks that the Shanahans like to deal with anyway. We know the type of quarterbacks that they've had success with. Maybe Mac Jones is a poor man's version in a talent basis of what John Elway was at one point in Denver with Mike Shanahan. And I say that the way that I do because John Elway did play at times with a little athleticism. He would run out of the pocket at times. I didn't see Mac Jones do that too many times at Alabama. With that being said, I'm not saying he can't do it because in Alabama, maybe they had him playing one way. The only quarterback I saw Alabama let absolutely just go loose at times was Tua. And most of the time, Tua stayed in that pocket too. But Lawrence, go ahead and cook on this really quickly. Your thoughts on Mac Jones possibly going to the 49ers, or do you believe it's going to be Justin Fields or maybe even Trey Lance?
I think it can be Mac. I believe that they're going for a quarterback because I don't believe you trade up if you don't know exactly who you're going for and you think he might be gone. As much as I think Fields would go there or should go there, I don't think he's going to be a second quarterback off the board simply because, or even the third quarterback, because in the limited games that Ohio State did play this year, although Justin was good, I don't believe he separated himself enough from the rest of the pack to be like, after Trevor, it's me. So that's why I can see him falling one or two spots in the quarterback's room. But I don't necessarily think it'll be Trey Lance simply because he's so raw. And I believe Trey Lance would be more suited going to a team that already has a starting quarterback in place, kind of like how Patrick Mahomes did and Aaron Rodgers, and he can learn and grow behind that quarterback. So I would have to say I could see the 49ers going with Mac.
Go ahead, Eli.
All right, so I don't think Fields is in this conversation, but mainly because he's still going to New York in my mind, no matter how I put it. So if we lived in this weird world where Fields doesn't go to New York because Zach Wilson somehow, lands the job, I don't see Fields ending up at the 49ers offense, just the offensive scheme that they run, especially over there. They kind of run like a divergent version of the West Coast offense. Yes, you may need a little bit of a mobile quarterback, but in that offensive scheme, Fields in general just doesn't fit. He has a lot more potential than what that offensive scheme affords him to actually do and produce. A lot of short routes, a lot of slants, outs, posts. I think Fields, what I've got to see, especially against Clemson, a deep ball out of Fields that needs to be developed and honed as a skill. And I think the opportunity there for him to actually get an offense built around his scheme and his play style is going to be difficult with the type of coaching staff you got there and the way that they run things there. So I do believe that their quarterback system is a little bit more on the traditional side with a little wiggle room to a little bit of mobility, but you've got a legit dual threat quarterback. You're not dealing with just, either you're on the one side of Lamar Jackson where you're just really a scrambler, or you're on the one side of Tom Brady where you're really just a pocket passer. You got a legit dual threat quarterback here, and I don't think they're going to actually work around his play style. So the most regular and basic as I can give it is probably Mac Jones. I see him as just being a good fit for that program to sit underneath of Jimmy G. I don't see him. Honestly, I don't see a lot of quarterbacks coming in here taking a starting job, to be honest. I understand that, Jimmy was hurt, sat out the rest of it and all that in third. I do think that he's a good quarterback, opposite to what was said earlier, though. I do believe that Jimmy Garoppolo still is a good quarterback. He played pretty decent when he was starting the season off before the injury. But I believe that even Mac Jones, or if Justin Fields somehow ends up on that team, Justin Fields won't really go far in that program. But Mac Jones would definitely learn a lot more underneath of that system and potentially take the starting spot in about 2 years, a year or two. More like a Joe Flacco, Lamar Jackson situation, just waiting for someone to get out the door. So you just bringing someone in. So
I believe he's going to be taking the job after year one, going into year two. And I believe Jimmy's still a good quarterback in the league as well. But I believe that San Francisco has sent every message out there that they want to be done with him. And they've been kind of sending this message out there ever since they lost the Super Bowl to Kansas City. There were rumors out there that they were going to try to go after a going on 43, this year going on 44-year-old now Tom Brady. And they had Jimmy Garoppolo in the building and under contract. So I don't believe they trust him anymore. And it could be a situation there. You said Joe Flacco and Lamar Jackson. If Mac Jones is everything the San Francisco 49ers think he is, this might be another Alex Smith to Patrick Mahomes situation. I don't necessarily believe that's going to be like that, but it could be if he does end up being everything that the Niners think that Mac Jones has the potential to be should they draft him. So we'll just have to see how that's going to play out. Let's move on to the number 4 overall pick now, currently held by the Atlanta Falcons, but by the time we get to draft night, it very well could be in the possession of somebody else. Ray, I already know you sitting here hoping and praying that your Bears move up to that spot. And honestly, the Falcons are taking calls. The team that we're hearing the most about right now is the Denver Broncos. They are looking to get a quarterback, and I definitely understand why. Drew Lock has just not been it. And I say that as somebody who a year ago believed that the Denver Broncos had found their future franchise quarterback in Drew Lock. He's still got a long way to go in his career. I'm not going to call him a bust, but this is not going the way that the Broncos nor myself, but in particular them, they thought that this was going to go. So Trey Lance is a name that's up on their radar. If Justin Fields is on the board, I definitely see the potential there for him to possibly end up in Denver too. But let's just go ahead and make this pick based off of the Falcons still having the number 4 overall pick. And this is where I believe we might have some differing opinions. If I was the general manager of the Falcons and I had this number 4 overall pick, I would go defense here. Kyle Pitts is a phenomenal tight end prospect, but the Falcons have been adding to their offense for years. The Falcons putting points on the board has never been an issue. not in the Matt Ryan and Julio Jones era anyway. It's them being able to get other teams off the field that's been an issue. And that's why I would go with Penn State linebacker Micah Parsons with the number 4 overall pick. He's the best linebacking prospect in this draft. He has a chance to really be an all-time great. And if you can put him next to somebody the caliber of a Deion Jones, I feel like you can really get that defense moving in the right direction.
I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I don't know what the Falcons gonna do. But it's a good spot for them because they really do have an embarrassment of riches here where they can kind of go anywhere. You got Pitts, you got Jamar Chase, you got Parsons, like Xavier just mentioned. So it's gonna there's holes all around that team. It's really gonna kind of be where they really want to attack. Do they want to attack the defensive side of the ball? Because like Xavier said, points in most times aren't an issue for them. It's usually their defense. They're late in games. They lose leads. So that could definitely be a good starting point in Parsons. If they have the pick, they have to agree with you here because solid on the offensive side. Of course, it'll never hurt, especially with some of the receivers and tight ends at the top of the draft. But I would have to agree because they lose too many leads late in games. So go defense.
The Falcons, I think we can all agree the Falcons are terrible. So I'm going defense, and I feel like I don't want to say he's a sleeper, but his name is Christian Barmore. He plays for Alabama, defensive lineman, which is definitely a position that they need to start the rebuilding of their defense. You let, what is his name? He just signed with the Cowboys. It's on the tip of my tongue. But you let him go. You let Canu Neal go. That's it. That's who it is. But you let go of all these defensive players who are prone to injury. This is the one draft where you can actually start to properly rebuild. I don't remember hearing anything about their head coaching, but their defensive coordinator, from my understanding, is still staying. If you give him the proper talent, he can give you a solid defense. I'm going Christian Barmore from Alabama. If not, I would take the linebacker from Pitt.
Well, Christian Barmore being next to Grady Jarrett on that defensive line would also definitely make a difference as well. I don't think you can go wrong with either him or Micah Parsons in that spot. And I know there are people out there that feel that that's a little too high for those players to be drafted. Well, people felt the same way about Khalil Mack and Devin White. They don't feel the same way now. If you draft the right player, if you feel that you're drafting the right player, no matter the spot is, at the end of the day, it's a win-win for you. But I could definitely see Christian Barmore there. Ray, let me ask you this. We saw Carolina do this last year, where they basically spent almost an entire draft spending it on defensive players. You feel like the Falcons need to do the same thing right now?
I wouldn't say the same exact thing, but from my understanding, they have a first round, second round, and a fourth round pick. I'm definitely going all defensive players those rounds for sure. You don't really need any more offensive weapons. You have a somewhat stamina Julio Jones. You have an amazing Calvin Ridley. Matt Ryan is kind of just up in the air right now. You can go get a decent running back in free agency. There's no need to continue to add to this already high-scoring offense that you guys have. You can't win games because you don't have a defense. You don't have a defense. If I would go one offensive position for them, I would probably go get a new center. If not a new center, a right tackle.
No, I agree with you there, and it should be mentioned that Penei Sewell, the tackle out of Oregon, and I believe he should be the number 5 overall pick. We're going to touch on that in just a second. That should definitely be an option and play for them too, because Jake Matthews is getting older, and I just don't believe he's even close to being what he is. However, you can slide him over to that right tackle spot, and you can plug Panay Sewell over there to that left tackle spot, and you can get a center going into one of those later rounds, and maybe you can start to repair that offensive line, because Alex Mack did leave them in free agency and go to the San Francisco 49ers. So that's definitely a good note right there. Eli, go ahead and cook on this. If you were the general manager of the Falcons, what would you do with that number 4 overall pick?
So, a lot of you guys talked about they don't need any more on the offense, which is absolutely correct. You know, they got a great offensive team in general. But what I would say is I think that we might see our first trade alert in this draft at this pick, mainly because I do believe that Micah Parsons is, you know, looked at right now as one of the best linebackers in this draft, which he is. Shout out to Penn State. But I believe truly that the Falcons will pick up a linebacker in this draft, mainly because they do need somebody to just help out on that edge. Either they pick up an edge or they pick out a middle linebacker. At the end of the day, they need somebody to help out on that defensive side. Need someone to step in, be a big role model, a leader on that defensive end to kind of just give this defense some type of life in this season. We all know they can score at a high power. You know, I've seen a lot of games with the Falcons this year. The beginning of games, seeing them beating teams like 23-0 and then like lose a game like 30-something to 23. So, you know, a lot of that fourth quarter, that gas out from that offense, and there's no defense to pick it back up. Everyone, I think, is in agreement on that, is that their defense is honestly, you know, one, they're not really on the field as much, so they really don't have much of an excuse because the offense is usually on the field. But and they're usually getting scored on too, so you're really not on the field that much. But I truly believe that Micah Parsons will be getting picked up. If not, I do believe the Falcons will be dumb and go for offense again. And if they do, hopefully, you know, they pick up Kyle Pitts. You know, I think the tight end will work for him. I do believe that.
Lawrence, let's go ahead and get your opinion in on this. If you were the general manager of the Falcons, what would you do with the number 4 overall pick, saying that you keep the pick?
Sure. So saying that we keep the pick, I'm definitely looking on offensive side of the ball simply because although those defensive needs are glaring and seem to be the clear open issue, this isn't the draft for that. We talking about people like Kyle Pitts. People talking about Mans being a generational tight end. You talking about Justin Fields sliding down to him. You don't always have a control of what drafts are going to be. Like, you don't know if it's going to be a defensive heavy pick draft or offensive heavy pick draft. This year, I believe it's an offensive heavy pick. And so I believe they should take Justin Fields, although we did talk about him going earlier. I can see Justin falling to 4 for the Falcons to get, so he can learn behind Matt Ryan. And then, you know, in other drafts, upcoming drafts, you can look for defensive players or even trade back into this. But I believe Kyle Pitts or Justin Fields would be the pick here simply because they're kind of like too good to pass on. Kind of like how the Cowboys were last year with CeeDee Lamb. I feel like Kyle Pitts, every pick after 4 that Kyle Pitts is at, it's kind of like, damn, bro, like, Mans is the best like player right now on the board. How do you pass this up?
I agree with you on the point of why you would possibly consider taking offense, but it's not something I would do. I would go defense in this place. Now, of course, if you add Kyle Pitts to that offense and comes to the NFL and he's everything that he was at Florida and more, yeah, that's going to be problematic. But the problem is going to be that they're probably going to have to score 50 a game just to win games at that point, because they can't stop anybody at all right now. I mean, I'm willing to go as far right now as saying that as things currently stand, they have one of the 3 worst defenses in the league right now. No doubt about that. And this is even after letting players go. So they got a lot of work to do on that defense. I believe Micah Parsons should be the number 4 overall pick right there if they keep the pick. But it will remain to be seen what they do with the pick. Let's move on to the number 5 overall pick. I already touched on this. There's some talk out there about the Cincinnati Bengals also possibly looking to add another weapon to this offense as well. And all I'm going to say to that is this. If Joe Burrow tearing his ACL and his MCL and also his meniscus, I believe, because of the fact that a defense basically ran straight through your offensive line to get to him, was not enough to tell you we need to add some offensive linemen around this man who will actually protect him. I don't know what will, and just go ahead and trade him to somebody who will make the right decisions for him in his career if you don't make the right decisions here and draft Penei Sewell, the big left tackle out of Oregon. That's just how I feel about the Bengals at this point. Jamar Chase, if Kyle Pitts is on the board, Devontae Smith, yeah, they would be great for him to be able to throw the ball to, but I actually want him to be out there to throw the ball. I mean, we saw what happened to him. We saw the injury that happened to him. A defensive player literally ran straight through that offensive line and wrecked his knee. So I believe Penei Sewell should be taken with the number 5 overall pick, and the Bengals start to actually invest in their team and their franchise quarterback going forward.
Yeah, sucks for them because they got all this great talent around them. It would be great to see Chase with him again as they were in LSU, but it's an easy pick. They got to go Sewell because they have to shore up their offensive line. So yeah, Bengals Sewell for me.
I'm gonna go the same, just follow on that route. To be honest with you, we all seen what happened last year. To have a replication of that again, just honestly would be a failed franchise in general, especially to Joe Burrow and the season that he was having. I believe that anything less than offensive line kind of shows the direction that franchise is trying to lead in.
Go ahead and take it, Lawrence.
Baba, can you repeat that?
So who do you believe the Cincinnati Bengals are going to take with the number 5 overall pick in this draft?
Oh, my man, I'm glad you asked me. Jamar Chase. It's like all day, every day. I'm going Jamar Chase. Now, I mean, I won't say all day, every day. I definitely look at the offensive lineman just because of, like, you know, Joey did just tear that ACL. So, you know, I'll definitely consider it, but it'll come down to the offensive lineman and Jamar Chase just because that chemistry that they have at LSU, that is what so many quarterback wide receiver deals strive to reach. And to ignore that, I don't feel like would be the smartest decision if the name of the game is to win a Super Bowl. And for me, the selling point on Jamar was seeing him at his pro day run a 4.340. That told me that during his entire season that he opted out, he was in the gym working. He just wasn't sitting around like chilling. Like, I know I'm gonna be the first overall wide receiver based off of my 2019 film, but I have to go out here and earn this, and I got to put the work in because otherwise I'll get exposed once I get to the league. So that kind of sealed it. His pro day, Jamar's pro day, sealed it for me.
Look, I'm gonna say this, Lawrence. We got to get to the Super Bowl. So, you know, if Joe Burrow don't make it to the Super Bowl, I mean, what is Jamar Chase? So that's all I'm saying.
That's real. That's real.
And that's exactly why I'm going to keep saying Penei Sewell here in this spot, because I'm not denying the talent of Jamar Chase or any of these receivers or outside talent. The Bengals really are in the position that the Falcons are in right now, in my opinion. You need to right now draft based on need. The Falcons need to draft somebody to help them get that defense upright. And the Bengals need to draft somebody who can help keep Joe Burrow upright. So Listen, I understand what you're saying about the LSU quarterback and wide receiver combos, but he's got Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins to throw the football to. They are more than capable enough of being able to go out there and help him get the job done. But you need somebody who's going to help avoid defenses running straight into him the way that they were last year. Ray, go ahead and give us your thoughts on this.
I agree with everybody who said the Bengals need to go offensive lineman. Yes, Joe Burrow's injury was disgusting to watch. Injuries like that, you have to be well protected. Well protected. They could easily be avoided if you do so. I see where Lawrence is saying when you say Jamar Chase, because they, besides the offensive lineman, they do need offensive talent. Joe can't do it by himself. I think Jamar and Joe replaying what they had at LSU would definitely be a great look. But if I'm general manager, I'm going offensive lineman. I cannot go offensive lineman. I have a great quarterback who I think will have a healthy, sophomore season. I don't think Jamar Chase will still be on the board when they have their second pick. But, your first pick definitely needs to be a center or a right tackle.
And in the case of the Bengals, their second pick, they need to spend that on an offensive lineman too. Just being honest, they do. But you mentioned Jamar Chase not being on the board when they have their second pick. Yeah, I predict you're right about that too, because I predict that Jamar Chase is going to get drafted by the Miami Dolphins. I know everybody is talking about a Tua and Devontae Smith combo. I don't necessarily think the Dolphins are thinking in that direction. I think it's either Jamar Chase or Kyle Pitts. I predict that at least one of those two guys will still be on the board. Now, if they are not, maybe they do go Devontae Smith in that direction. I don't know. But I'm going to say Jamar Chase is going to be a Miami Dolphin.
If the Dolphins can somehow find a way to mess it up, that would be fine. I'd rather not see, Jamar or Devontae twice a year. But for Tua, they'll get Jamar. I think Jamar is the best receiver on the board. That would be really nice, though. Have Devontae out there with him, played Alabama together. But I think they'll go Jamar at number 6.
Kind of different from what everyone else is saying. I got Devonta Smith over here going 6 to the Dolphins. I just feel like after the season that Tua kind of had, he's going to start having more say inside that locker room, especially with management in general. I think the best pick for him is kind of to have that connection there. I mean, don't get me wrong, Jamar Chase is like athletic beyond words, but at the same time, I mean, imagine the damage that these two people can do if you can pick up Devonta Smith and have Tua out there with someone he's comfortable with. And as he gets more into this field, this offense, I mean, I think the sky's the limit with this duo here. It's one of those duos that, we might not see in a long time. And it's something that's actually capable to happen unless, Devonta Smith goes early, which is very possible as well with the Falcons. So we'll definitely see.
And Lawrence, before you cook on this, let me just say this. I wouldn't be opposed to Devontae Smith going to the Miami Dolphins. He and Tua have a very magical moment with each other that they could probably build on and build Hall of Fame legacies together in Miami. Remember, it was Devontae Smith that caught the game-winning touchdown pass from Tua in the national championship where the Georgia Bulldogs absolutely just blew it. Now, but like I said, there's that magical moment right there. And you could probably see even more of those magical moments in Miami should they play together. I just see that if Jamar Chase is on the board, though, with him being the bigger guy, because most of these teams, when they go wide receiver, ever since we've seen Calvin Johnson and Julio Jones get drafted, most of these teams, when you have a wide receiver on the board, they try to go in that direction. The guy that has the strength, the size, and the speed. And I'm not so sure that many of these teams look at Devontae Smith and say that he has all three. He definitely has the speed, and he also has the strength. I mean, don't let the slender frame fool you. But the actual size itself, he puts me more so in the mindset of a better man's version of Antonio Brown when I think of his size. Not saying his career will be anything like that, but that's just a comparison for him to me when I just think of him from a size standpoint. But if Miami goes with him at number 6, I believe it could definitely work out great in their favor as well. Lawrence, go ahead and cook on this.
Either way, they can't go wrong.
In fact, yeah, I was going to say that, like, ultimately, you can't go wrong with both of those wideouts on the board. I'd like to have Devontae at 6 as well. If it came down to him and Jamar, I would like Devontae, not 6, but I would like Devontae to go to the Dolphins just because of the same connection I talked about with Joey and Jamar. Tua and Devontae had that same connection, so that's why I would like to see him there. And ultimately, I think if that happens, if that scenario happens, Jamar would have to be. I would like to see Jamar go off the board next, going to Denver. Jamar and Jerry Jeudy, that would be quite a tandem. Like, you could almost just plug in damn near any quarterback, and it's a ball to get caught.
I don't know. Them quarterbacks be sketchy.
Yeah, I mean, like, they'll for sure be hesitant, but Jamar and Jerry to grow with each other, that'll be some tough news.
And you spoke on Denver. So I'm going to have my first official trade in this draft. And I'm going to say that the Denver Broncos move up from number 9, and they move up to number 7. They swap picks with the Detroit Lions. And I believe we have another quarterback come off the board. Trey Lance will go to the Denver Broncos, in my opinion, in this draft right now at this point. I already said it. They're looking for another quarterback. They don't trust Drew Lock. Even though one note about Drew Lock that I should make, and this isn't going to sway their opinion in any way whatsoever, more than likely. This offseason, he has been training with Peyton Manning on his mechanics to figure out what it is that he needs to do to become a better quarterback in the NFL. So he is at least trying to take the strides. With that being said, this is not a league that is about trying. This is a league that is about results. And even though you don't know what Trey Lance or any of these rookies is going to give you, in some cases, you much rather start over as opposed to continue with what you currently have. I believe they start over, and I believe Trey Lance will be taken by the Broncos at number 7 overall.
Am I wilding, or did we not get your number 6 pick, Ray? Am I
My
tripping?
number 6 pick, who's that? That's the Dolphins, right?
Yeah.
I'm going Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith. It's young. It's very young. Miami's overall team is very young. Now that I think about it. It's exciting. It's history. It's chemistry. I believe that they will have the results. Maybe win like 7 games max. No more than 7. I would hate to be a Jets fan though. You got to see them twice a year. I would hate that.
Be real tough. But 7, we got Detroit. Detroit. The franchise, I don't know what they're doing. I don't think Lance. I don't think Denver trades up because I don't think they'll have to. Detroit, I don't think they're picking them. Who Detroit will pick? I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't know. Y'all have to give me a second to come back to that. Somebody go ahead, because
Okay. So at this point, do you have Kyle Pitts coming off the board? Have you taken Kyle Pitts off the board at this point? Because if not, that's where I see Detroit going with this.
Pitts.
Now it's not. Now let me go ahead and say this right now. I don't want to see any of these good players go to Detroit because personally, I don't believe in the coach who is known as the dude. And Ray, I already know why you don't want to see it. being a Chicago Bears fan. So I get that too. But I just don't want these guys to take a chance of going to the Detroit Lions and possibly messing up their careers. We talk about Jacksonville. Let's talk about what the Detroit Lions single-handedly did to Barry Sanders and Calvin Johnson for a second. Players who were in their prime and were so miserable in that place. They just said, all right, we're out. We're done. Not going to ask for a trade to another team. Not going to request for a buyout so I can go to another team. No, I'm just done. So I don't want to see anybody else's career get prematurely ruined by going to the Detroit Lions. But if he's on the board, that's where I believe Kyle Pitts would end up going should they keep the number 7 overall pick.
Unfortunately enough, just due to the fact that they have to take the best player available because that franchise is just yikes.
The Lions, they're not bad. They're not, no offense, they're not as bad as the Jets. They have potential. No shade. If you put Kyle Pitts,
What is going on?
if you put Kyle Pitts, they just did like this huge quarterback trade with Matthew Stafford and Jared Goff. If you put Kyle Pitts with a Jared Goff, and then you have a DeAndre Swift, and then you have a Kerryon Johnson, this moves the ball around a lot more. Their defense is not bad. Was I shocked that they were a top 15 defense in the league last year? Yes, very much so. They have the potential. You're right, Xavier, as a Bears fan. I don't want to see Kyle Pitts twice a year. I don't want to see it. But if I am Detroit, I am going for him. I'm giving my quarterback, who is a great quarterback, a lot more depth, a lot more weapons. Detroit is a career killer, but I feel like his career will honestly be made in Detroit. I don't think he'll be another Calvin Johnson, but he will have a home in Detroit. I don't think if he plays good for years to come, I don't think Detroit is going to want to lose that.
Go ahead, Eli. I know you got some things to say.
Well, my things is going to be similar when it comes to Randolph, when it comes to Detroit Lions, man. I really don't like the Lions at all. I mean, I get it. Ray said they're okay. I mean, I don't think they will ever be better than the Jets. I mean, that's blasphemy. But, I mean, at the same time,
You run them boys with Adam Gase as coach.
literally, literally. So, but however, since, serious on the matter, what the Detroit Lions could actually use, I kind of like what Xavier said. If Kyle Pitts is, still on the board, that would definitely help them out on the offensive side. They definitely need a little bit of help over there. Not a little bit. They need a lot of help. But I do believe a tight end is a great foundation to a start of a successful offense when you got a good quarterback, which we don't know what's going to go on with that. But good tight end over there would definitely help that offense fundamentally. And I definitely believe if Kyle Pitts is still there, that's where I'm going. If not, we're looking at wide receivers. Definitely looking at the receiver core that we have in this draft. There are a lot of receivers, believe it or not. There are a lot of good receivers. Of course, there's only 5 top elite receivers, but there are a lot of sleeper receivers in here. So one of them that I do believe that's extremely low rated-wise out here, that's a good pick for the Lions, would definitely be Elijah Moore out of Ole Miss. Definitely a great slot receiver at 5'9", would definitely help out, open up the middle of that field, especially in the short routes and slants. So that's where I'm going. Either it's going to be Kyle Pitts or it's going to go over to Elijah Moore. I think he's definitely going to be a great sleeper pick to either help them downfield or just help them in the slants in the post. So,
Well, we've seen teams do weirder things. Like years ago, we saw the Raiders take Cleveland Farrell when they definitely could have selected him a little later on in the draft, and he probably still would have been there. And I like Elijah Moore too, but the Lions may go into this thing with the thinking that they can get him a little later on in the draft, even if it is just in the second round, which would be a good spot for him too. But like I said, we've seen teams do unexpected things before. So if something like this were to happen, it wouldn't surprise me, and I honestly don't think it would be a bad pick either. Lawrence, it's your time. It's your turn to cook on the dude.
Well, my first question would be to Elijah. You like Elijah Moore better than you like Rashad Bateman?
From what I've seen from this season, just watching Ole Miss football in general, I like Elijah Moore a lot, definitely. I would have to keep up a little bit more on Rashad Bateman's tapes over there at Minnesota, but definitely I've seen a lot of Elijah Moore, and especially with his speed, his agility, his route running, he's very good at what he does over there in the slot. And I think that, especially with the Lions, they're going to need somebody that's going to kind of open up that field a little bit more going into this season. And I think that Elijah Moore is a great addition to it. I mean, we're looking at a huge height difference between the two athletes. One is around 6'2", 6'3", and one's 5'9". So comparing them, I wouldn't say, do I think one is better than the other? I would consider one as a slash receiver and another one as a possession receiver. So I can't really compare them.
Okay. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, I also agree with saying, like, I thought the Lions take the best available. To me, for me to take Jalen Waddle, I would have to be 100% certain he's healthy. I don't know what type of effects playing in a national championship game had, but Madge was limping around the whole time. So I would need to see him electric, healthy, because like we're saying, like I just said, this is pretty deep wide receiver class. I mean, you even have the wideout from Purdue who killed his pro day, killed his measurements. I mean, he's getting like Tyreek Hill comparisons. So I feel like if Jalen Waddle's not there, yeah, you look at the wide receiver depth, but you could also look at, just the best available player.
Very interesting picks there on where we think the Lions could go with number 7. I'm pretty sure it's about to get even more interesting with the Carolina Panthers, who will not be drafting a quarterback because they have a new franchise quarterback. It's the guy that the Jets just did dirty. That would be Sam Darnold. Sorry, Eli and Randolph. You can view that however you want to view it. The Jets just didn't give him any help. With that being said, in Carolina, if Christian McCaffrey's healthy, we know you've got a bona fide one right there. We know you've got that. But their offensive line is nowhere close to where it used to be. And the key for Sam at this point is you've got to go somewhere where the franchise is going to protect you and take care of you. I believe Carolina will do that, and they will do right by him. And I have Rashawn Slater going number 8 overall. Someone they can plug up at that right tackle position.
I agree with that on Xavier's pick with Rashawn Slater. But I got to go back to what Xavier started off with by saying, he he wasn't done right by the New York Jets. I wanted Sam Darnold out the door 2 years ago. So that's just from a Jets fan perspective. Randolph's perspective is different because, who knows what type of fan he is of the Jets. But I would definitely say I believe that he needs some help and he needs some protection back there. I would like for him to have an easy transition over there. But that team is very dangerous, as you stated, with Christian McCaffrey being healthy. And then now, having another great receiver over there as well. They just basically stole 2 of our players. But Robbie, you got, Sam, you got Christian, you got an old line out there. Man, this team is really scary. I mean, a very scary team. If they get all the right pieces and everyone stays healthy, I think Sam Darnold will actually fold, and you guys will see the imposter that I've been talking about for years. But definitely, Rashawn Slater is a great pickup to help that offense kind of rejuvenate itself into more of a passing game instead of relying so much on Christian, because that's going to be kind of similar to what we see over there in New York. We rely so much on a running back to the point where running back's going to get very unhealthy and the season's going to go downhill. So open up the passing game a little bit more by giving him some more protection.
Well, if it were up to me, a couple years ago, when the Jets had that pick, I mean, I was trading down, but we're not here to discuss that. As far as the Panthers pick, it's either going to be the offensive lineman Slater you guys mentioned, or one of the skill position players if they're still available at that time, whether it be Pitts, Chase, Devontae, Smith, either one of those. It's going to be offensive lineman, or it's going to be one of those skilled guys as the best available still up there.
Go ahead and take it, Ray.
Okay. I agree with Xavier. I am going Rashawn Slater. He's a sleeper. I feel like people are not talking about him enough for my my opinion. You put him with Sam Darnold, which is something that he didn't have in New York, is talent. But Sam Darnold, Rashawn Slater, you have a healthy Christian McCaffrey. Rework your defense just a tad bit, just a little bit, and I can see Carolina being like third in their division.
You didn't have to say the talent, Saul. It's true.
Well, I don't know if I can judge the talent that we saw in New York, or do I judge the people who were picking the talent or the people who were trying to help develop the talent?
Because everybody. Blame everybody.
Well, I'm not going to blame your current general manager, Joe Douglas, because I actually believe in him. And I've seen him do some good things with the organization so far, especially as far as making picks for you on defense. I mean, he's picked some promising players on that side of the ball. And I also like one of the offensive linemen that he's picked too, even though I can't really remember his name right now. But I like some of the things that he's done with your organization. The key for the Jets, honestly, is that Adam Gase is out of the building.
Yes. The day he got hired, I was like, nah, bro, that ain't it. But, glad he's gone. Got a new coach in there.
Let's make it happen. We need to understand that Sam Darnold wasn't drafted to kind of be handheld. He was brought in there to just go and do the job to be a franchise quarterback. And sadly, sometimes that means that you have all the pieces and weapons when you get there. Sometimes that means it's just, as I said, they gave him the put up or shut up mentality when he got there. It was either he was going to go to the playoffs or they were going to give up hope on him. So I believe after that first year, they were like, all right, your second year, that's it. Either you do it or you don't. So they gave him a little bit of help there. But the healthiness of the wide receiver core kind of ruined it. And at that point, it was like, all right, we're done with you, and we're just going to look elsewhere. So same time, I do believe that, he'll be a better addition on Carolina than he could have been on the Jets, mainly because the pressure is not there like it was in New York for him. He's kind of just coming in to really just get his second opportunity at life at quarterback, and it's already somewhat of an established team. It's not as broken as when he got to the Jets. So definitely a great pick for them as O-line.
He just has – it's way much more like just now with McCaffrey, if he's healthy, he's better than anybody he's ever played with. And then he's got Anderson, who he's played with before. It's going to be a system with Matt Rule as the coach that, I think probably fit him more than what he had in New York. So, enough with Darnold. You can go on.
Well, the only other point I'll bring up about Darnold, too, he's also inheriting Joe Brady as his offensive coordinator. So let's move on to the number 9 overall pick in this draft. As you all know, I had Denver trading up to number 7 and Detroit moving down to number 9. So I got Detroit going with Devontae Smith at this point. I didn't have Devontae Smith off the board at this point. I got them going with Devontae Smith. I believe they will go with a skilled position player right here. And he honestly might be the best fit for them right now. you got to keep in mind that they lost Kenny Golladay in free agency. And he was one of those under-the-radar NFL receivers who could put up numbers, but he was shadowed on a losing team. Now, is life going to change for him with the New York Giants? I don't know, because I honestly don't believe Daniel Jones is that guy. So we'll see how that ends up going. But I've got Devontae Smith in my pick right now, going number 9 overall to the Detroit Lions.
You know the sad reality when you don't want to see Devontae Smith or Kyle Pitts in your conference like at all. You guys might not agree, but I see Detroit if they don't take Kyle Pitts, like if he does go, I see them getting Jalen Waddle. I don't know, like it's nothing to put a whole bunch of Bama boys on the same team and then everybody just, play together. It's nothing wrong with that. Jalen with DeAndre Swift, Kerryon Johnson, then you still have a young, experienced Jared Goff. This opens up the door. Detroit hasn't had a decent wide receiver since Calvin Johnson left. Take away his injuries, he's really good. He's really nice. He's not Devontae Smith caliber, but let's remember before Devontae Smith got big, Jalen was that number 1 wide receiver. So I see Detroit going Jalen.
Well, for me, I had even this pick. So here they'll get the quarterback in Lance because I don't think they'll need to trade up to pick him. So I got Denver grabbing the quarterback, which they are still in the search for since Peyton Manning has left.
And it also should be noted that John Elway is no longer the general manager of the Denver Broncos, so he won't be making this selection. And that's no disrespect to the Hall of Famer, but he clearly showed his hand one too many times that when it comes down to drafting quarterbacks, he isn't as great at that as he was at actually playing the quarterback position. Eli, who do you have at number 9 overall?
So number 9, I do agree with Randolph here. I don't think that the Lions actually need to trade up at all. I actually do believe that the Broncos will go ahead and get Trey Lance. So that's where I'm gonna go. I think Broncos will be here.
All right, and number 10 overall now. We got to go to everybody's favorite team. I'm being very sarcastic when I say that. That would be the Dallas Cowboys. We know what they need to do. They need to go defense. They needed to go defense a year ago. They didn't do it. They got CeeDee Lamb, a very nice player who I honestly don't think was needed for an offense that had just gave Amari Cooper $100 million. With that being said, Dan Quinn is now their defensive coordinator. This is year 2 under Mike McCarthy. They're looking to get the system turned back in the right direction. Dak Prescott just signed a big, huge contract. And I think that they will go with defense with this pick with Patrick Surtain II, the cornerback out of Alabama. That's why I got Dallas going with that number 10.
Yeah, I've got Surtain as well. It's clear Dallas does need to go defense because they're kind of situated on the offensive side. Of course, we got to see what Dak is like coming back from that injury, but they do have to go defense. So Surtain will be the best defensive player available at the time. So I think that's where they're going.
Nobody sees New England trading up. Is it just me? Because I see New England with the number 10 pick. I didn't
See,
really
here's the
have
thing. In my scenario, I've had all of those top quarterbacks taken off the board. Now, unless you believe Kyle Trask is that guy, I don't see that happening. But now, should a quarterback still be up on the board at number 10? Okay. Yeah, the Patriots would probably make a move.
If I'm Bill Belichick, I don't have faith in Jared. I just re-signed Cam. Anything is possible. I believe if the New England Patriots do trade up, I believe they would go for Mac Jones. If he's still on the board. I don't really have a backup plan for New England because they seem put together. They just don't know what to do exactly. But I definitely have New England with the number 10 pick over the Cowboys.
Well, in their minds, they probably think that in a year from now, Jimmy Garoppolo will be back in their system. I don't think that's very smart thinking to do. Belichick and Nick Saban are good friends. Belichick has a history of drafting Alabama players. And I don't think that this would end up being any different. So if Mac Jones is on the board, yeah, I could see the Patriots moving up and selecting him with the pick if he's still on the board there at number 10.
I'm gonna go with Patrick Surtain as well. I think that's exactly what Dallas needs on the defensive side. Just really a great corner, someone that's going to make some good plays for them on the defensive end of the ball. Their offense is what it is, but of course, defense at the end of the day is going to kind of get them through a lot of those tough times that Dallas tends to always have. So I think this will be a step in the right direction, just to get someone out there that's young, who can adapt, learn. You're not in the hardest of divisions, so it definitely gives the players time to really grow and develop. It's not too much pressure, but I guess if you're America's football team, you do have a lot of pressure on your shoulders. But I do believe that being here will give him the opportunity to, one, grow, learn the game, and the division, once again, is not the hardest of divisions to kind of really set your foot and where you stand in this league. So that's where I'm going.
Yeah, so we got 3 going for Patrick Surtain. Ray, if the Cowboys do keep the number 10 overall pick, let's say they keep it, nobody trades up, who would you have them drafting at number 10?
I hate to agree with you guys, but I have them drafting Patrick Surtain. I wrote it down.
All right, so let's move on to some more sleeper players in this first round. One who is more than likely not going to be a top 10 player, but I believe he'll be a great running back in this league, especially if he ends up into a system where there is a good offensive line right now and someone who's just going to give him the ball and let him run it. That would be Najee Harris. Where do you guys have him ending up?
Atlanta.
You said it.
Like if Atlanta does go the offensive route, you didn't extend Todd Gurley's contract with you, so you have this running back position that's wide open. Najee Harris, young, fast, talented. Don't really hear much about, injury because he's not injury prone, but it's fresh. You have an experienced Matt Ryan. You take let me not say decent, but you have Calvin Ridley, who's found his footing. You have Julio Jones, who is basically your man. Najee Harris coming into a system like this. Okay, Falcons, yeah, y'all could put up 35 points and y'all can keep going. He's gonna run, he's gonna score. And if you've ever looked at Atlanta's offense, they can never get the little yards. It could be 4th and 1, they can never get it. It could be 3rd and 8, they can never get it. These are the perfect plays. These are the perfect yards for Najee to come in and find a hole and give you guys like that opportunity to keep going.
I understand what you're saying right there with Najee Harris to Atlanta. Here's just the thing. I don't think they would make that pick at number 4. Now, if they were to end up, how do we know the Patriots don't have a plan in their back pocket and they're talking to Atlanta right now and they move up to number 4 and they make sure that they get a quarterback at that spot? I'm not saying that's going to happen, but if they do. Now, if you move Atlanta down to the Patriots spot right now and Najee Harris is still on that board, yes, I could see that happening. Because also at that point, I don't believe Micah Parsons would still be on the board.
If the Patriots make this drastic jump to the 4th pick, I don't think we understand that Belichick has to give up not only some decent players, but he's gonna have to give up some picks. I don't want to see Najee in New England. I don't honestly think he fits what Bill Belichick is accustomed to and what he has done over the years. I just feel like if Bill Belichick, he's not that type of coach, and he's shown as a general manager, he's not that type of manager where he wants to give more than what he receives.
Normally, I would agree with you on that, but here's just the thing. He's done so horrible in the draft the past few years from a skill position standpoint. I don't think he would mind giving up a few picks if it meant that he could move up and get his next franchise quarterback.
Well, if Najee were to end up in New England, I actually think that wouldn't be bad if Cam is the quarterback, because with Cam as their quarterback, you've seen last year they tailored their offense to be more run-oriented. So I think if Cam is the guy at quarterback, and Najee ends up being that pick, I think that would work. However, I think if he falls far enough, Pittsburgh, because of having absolutely no running game whatsoever last season, I think Najee would fit fairly well with Pittsburgh as a dynamic running back with Ben, because Ben needs it.
That's where I have Najee falling at this point. Also, it should be noted, even though James Conner didn't really give them much last year, he's not even in the cards for them anymore anyway, because he is now an Arizona Cardinal.
I would definitely say that for me, Najee Harris is not going to fall as far as everyone's probably thinking. Honestly, I got this written down. I got Najee somehow making his way over to LA Chargers and helping out that program over there with that amazing quarterback they got out there into their sophomore season. That's what I'm seeing. It's a great fit. He jumps right in. 2 young players, got a quarterback, running back duo out there. You can pass the ball. You throw that run game in there. The running back they already got, what is it, Austin Eckler? It's not a great running back. I mean, that 1 rushing touchdown.
Like Eckler was he's more of a, he's like a Sproles type guy.
Yeah.
So I like the idea of Najee to LA. With the 2-back combo, like kind of like what they had when Melvin Gordon was there.
Exactly. So that's where I'm going. Mentally, I'm just saying, you throw someone in like that to be the 1, and then you've got someone out there to be the scat back at the 2, and it really makes a difference, especially with the quarterback they've got out there and, the amazing rookie season that he had. I really think that Najee, especially for the LA Chargers, if you're trying to make a push, I definitely believe that would be a sleeper pick that would shock a lot of people, but not really me.
Well, I agree with you on that, Derek. It would be a nice fit for them. It'd be a nice fit for him, too, because it should be. Yeah, besides Justin Herbert, they have done a really good job this offseason of retooling and rebuilding that offensive line. So they are making strides and moving in the right direction. They already have the weapons out there with Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. So that could be a nice fit for them too. I'm going to give you another fit here really quickly. The Philadelphia Eagles are also in need of a running back. And he has a history also with Jalen Hurts. So Could you possibly see a scenario where Philly takes him with that number 12 pick?
Yes.
Nah, I gotta think on that one, man. That's a curveball.
I think for me, like it's a fit, because like you said, they do need it. He has history with Hurts. They need it, but it's kind of a because Eagles need a lot. So I mean, I'm not entirely sure that they'll go with Najee, but it definitely.
All right, and Kyle Trask is a name that is not floating around a lot right now. A lot of people feel like he is a day 2 quarterback, but there have been rumors out there that some of these current teams that were playoff teams a year ago and are looking for a quarterback to build around in the future might take a look at him late in the first round.
Saints.
That's exactly where I was going with that. So, Ray, I see where you're going with this. Do you think possibly the Saints could go with him there, or you see another team going there? Or do you just see him completely falling out of the first round?
He is a first-round draft pick. He is. He has the talent. My man's was a finalist in the Heisman race. I think the SEC championship game against Alabama kind of like played a role in his draft stock. When you say the Saints, Drew Brees is huge shoes to fill. I don't see Trask going in, especially with Sean Payton as his head coach. I don't see him fulfilling what needs to be done.
So, with that being said, do any of us believe that Jameis has a chance of being the Saints quarterback past this season?
Oh, no. They need to call Teddy Bridgewater before Denver goes and gets him.
I hope that Jameis gets the opportunity to play quarterback instead of being disrespected by a wide receiver yet again. I will say, Jameis Winston, with the horrible interception, touchdown ratio that he had over there at the Bucs, wasn't his fault. Was not his fault. When your only scheme is to throw the football because you have no run game, it's kind of easy to throw a lot of interceptions. You go to the Saints when you have you have an established run game. You throw Jameis in that mix. I got to see Jameis play one game, and he threw a touchdown and he took him out. So I got to see Jameis go in there and throw a touchdown this season on the darn Saints. So what I'm saying is Jameis is a very good quarterback. The vision, accuracy, and all that in the third, sure, there's tweaking that needs to happen there. But overall winning ability and just the mindset to win and his leadership presence in that locker room since college, he has it. Sure, it's going to be great shoes to fill. They're not going to be able to – no one's going to be able to fill the shoes. You know, we may see another 5-10 years. It's going to look like how the Patriots are looking right now. No one's filling those shoes for a long time. However, I do believe that Jameis is the most mature out of the quarterbacks that they have right now to make that opportunity happen.
So as far as Trask, go ahead.
If I'm Sean Payton, I have like 10% faith in Jameis Winston. I think we're all ignoring the fact that Drew Brees is huge shoes to fill. This is not an easy job. Jameis, how do you have 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions in the same season? I can't get past that. But he has potential. But the Saints, you got to play Tom Brady twice a year. You have to play the Falcons twice a year. You know, these are games, and given the schedule that they dropped, these are games that are must-wins. And Jameis does not have that must-win mentality. For the Saints to say, this is our starting quarterback, you have to have 100% faith in him. And I don't even think they would have faith in Jameis. I think because of the offensive talent that is around Jameis, they're looking at it, well, we don't really care who's our quarterback because Michael Thomas is the top 5 wide receiver. Alvin is a top 5 running back. So really, we kind of just need you to pass the ball to them, and they can do whatever.
Well, with that being said, how much longer do we believe Michael Thomas is even going to be in New Orleans? Because there have been rumors out there for a year now that the Saints could be looking to move on from him, and he's not exactly too chummy about them either.
If you let go of Michael Thomas, I don't think if you put Michael Thomas on any other, NFL team, I don't think he can do the same thing.
So if you were to put him with Russell Wilson in Seattle, you don't see it?
No, not at all. And I say that because Russell Wilson and DK, it goes so well together. They complement each other. I'll even go as far back and say Russell Wilson and Josh Gordon, they complement each other. Michael Thomas is used to being that number one guy. Now you have wide receiver competition, and I don't think he's open to competition because he's the number one guy in New Orleans. He's the number one guy. Who are you going to put him against? Literally nobody. But if you take him to Seattle, he has to go against DK. If you take him to Atlanta, he has to go against Calvin. He has to go against Julio. If you take him, I'll even go as far if you take him down to Tampa, he has to go against somebody, and he's not ready for that intense type of competition. He's not ready to be outshined.
Go ahead, Dolph or Eli.
I'm not gonna lie, I got cut out for part of that, so I'm not entirely sure what just happened. So, somebody fill me in.
So what we were saying was if there is a scenario where Michael Thomas is no longer a New Orleans Saint, because rumors have been floating for a year now that they could be possibly looking to move on from him for the right deal, and he's not exactly too chummy about them either, where could you possibly see him ending up?
Baltimore.
Michael Thomas? Oh, but hey, come on now, Eli. Come on now. Hey, y'all know I've been asking for Baltimore to get this man some receivers, man. So, hey, if he out of New Orleans, hey, send him to Baltimore, bro. Time to eat with Lamar, man.
Well, I mean, I could see a scenario where, and it's probably not going to happen at this point, where Baltimore could make a trade for Julio. And the reason I say that is because how many more years does Julio have in his prime? He looks like he's getting a little more brittle, and the Falcons could make a decision that they don't want to continue to pay him that top tier dollar if he's going to be injury prone, and Baltimore is more in a win now position. But Michael Thomas would more than likely be the case that they would go in at this point as well. So, we'll have to just see what happens with that. But I don't think we got Dolph's opinion on Kyle Trask and where he could end up in this draft.
I did think New Orleans, if he's still first round. I did think New Orleans, because of the fact that there is the optimism of Jameis, and we're not entirely sure. I'm pretty sure they're not entirely sold on him. However, I do hope he gets the opportunity because, like Eli, I think, pointed out, it's kind of better around him than it was in Tampa. I think New Orleans, because if they're not sold on Jameis and Jameis doesn't play well, they'll have him at least Kyle Trask in for at least 1 year to get kind of acclimated to the system and possibly move on from there.
I'm gonna say one. I would have said Saints as well, but I think Jameis has a 1 year probationary period, which could potentially have someone come in. But I definitely think that Pittsburgh is kind of looking for somebody else to step in and fill those shoes in a couple of years. So great learning opportunity, young development moment. So.
All right, and you know what? We're going to go ahead and we're going to wrap it up from here. NFL draft a little less than 2 weeks away. Maybe we'll be coming back to you before then. Maybe we won't. I'm not sure. But, we'll see how right we were with our scenarios and our picks. And we'll see how many of these teams end up surprising us. Because one thing about the draft, there's always a surprise in there. So one of those top 10 picks we made, one of them is at least not going to be made. And somebody we didn't mention at all is going to be picked in the top 10. But with that being said, I want to thank everybody for, Eli, did you have anything you wanted to add before I close out?
Oh yeah, I said it's definitely going to be by the Atlanta Falcons or the New York Jets. Absolutely. Those picks that's not going to make any sense.
Well, I'm not going to say that they're not going to make any sense. I'm just going to say that they're going to be something that we didn't necessarily predict. Because I've reached a point to where it comes to these drafts to where let these players go out on the field and actually compete first before we actually give them a judgment. Because we've seen times where teams make picks that didn't necessarily make the most sense to us, and they actually ended up working out for the best. And we've seen scenarios where teams make picks that we thought were best for them, and they ended up being a complete bust. So we'll just have to see what happens. Dolph, do you have any closing remarks that you want to add?
Ray, who you got Chicago getting?
Because we had the 20th pick, I really want us to go get a quarterback because I am just not sold on Andy Dalton or Nick Foles at this point. I didn't even think Mitch was a bad quarterback, but
Andy Dalton.
Defense, we have, a top 5 defense, so we don't really need to go that route. But if they go that route, I completely understand. I mean, you did let Kyle Fuller go, so you have to replace him. I like, what's his name? He's a wide receiver, and I cannot think of his name right now. What is his name? Rashad Bateman. I like him. You play him. Yeah, I like him. But then we just got Marquise Goodwin. So if Chicago does use their pick wisely, can we get a quarterback? Because we're terrible. We're horrible.
Andy Dalton, that's kind of tough. But secondly, Justin Fields, that's it. That's the statement.
Chicago, Justin Fields with this young offense that we have.
I actually think Justin Fields would be a great pick with the Chicago Bears too.
I'm talking about Jets.
Y'all are not worthy. Y'all are not worthy. Y'all don't even have talent to put around Justin Fields. We have David Montgomery and Tariq Cohen. You have Marquise Goodwin. You have Darrell Mooney. You have Anthony Miller. This very young offense. Literally, nobody on that offense is over the age of 26. So this is perfect for Justin. Then you have a veteran wide receiver, Allen Robinson, who comes in. There talks about extending Jimmy Graham's contract, so that leaves the tight end position open with Cole Kmet. Yeah, Justin Fields in this very young offense with Ryan Pace as your general manager and Matt Nagy as your head coach, and then you have a top 5 defense. Yeah, Green Bay, Detroit, Minnesota, they're not seeing us. If this happens, though, Justin Fields will be gone before number 20 is even called.
Yeah, I was about to say it all sound nice, but Justin Fields, New York Jets. That's it.
Y'all are gonna ruin him. Y'all are gonna ruin him. It's gonna be
Adam
so
Gase may
bad.
ruin him. That's not gonna happen. No. So
Eli, I'm pretty sure you got some sentiments you want to add to that really quickly.
I appreciate you for giving me the opportunity. Yeah, I don't know what you thought when it came to my boy Justin Fields dropping that far. Look, Justin Fields is going number 2. And for everybody else in this draft, I think the Jets have the best chance nowadays. After I'm looking at it, Justin Fields goes to the Jets, we got the best chance. I say this every year, but looking at it this year, if we get Justin Fields, we got a healthy team, and get an offensive line kind of fixed up. Hey, Justin Fields, I'm with Randolph. That's a statement. That's a statement.
Like, that's it. Ain't nothing else to it.
I think Justin Fields in New York, like in a Jets uniform, is gonna end up like Daniel Jones with the Giants. It's just not. It's not.
Hey,
it's not
hold
I'm
gonna
to the
work.
on
players.
now.
Hold on, whoa.
Like,
See,
hey, Daniel Jones is not the guy, I don't think. But like, with the people he could possibly have around him, hey, that boy might make some noise now.
And if he
Barkley come
doesn't
back
and he
healthy.
stays healthy, it will be his fault. Let's just go ahead and point that out.
Yeah. Yeah, like Barkley coming back, bringing back Ingram, Galladay coming in. They possibly could draft that man Waddle if he fall there. If he healthy, hey, he might have the tools. You know, it's gonna be up to him really.
They also added a very good veteran tight end in Kyle Rudolph too. All right, so with that being said, I'll go ahead and I'll close things out. We just want to thank everybody for joining us here tonight, and I'll just close it out simply by saying, continue to do everything that we need to do so we can get the herd immunity and we can get rid of this COVID-19 virus. And also just continue to keep your loved ones close to you. Watch your back. If things seem a little shaky or you're out there in a shaky situation, get away from it as soon as you can. And continue to fight for justice. That's the best way I can put it. Continue to fight for justice and, more importantly, accountability. With that being said, does anyone else have any closing statements that they'd like to say to anything else I just said? Eli, you have anything?
okay, so yeah, I was definitely gonna stay quiet on that, but I'm always gonna speak up about any type of injustice in general. I appreciate everything that you're doing, Xavier, with your platform over here at Xtreme Sports. Always bringing it to the forefront, no matter what time period it is. We dealt with this, the NBA last year. We talked about this on the show. A big shout out to everything that you do at this program here. You know, you definitely keep it real and you don't try to shed any light on the small side. You like to put everything into the bright side on what we're doing here for movements. And I think that rest in peace, George Floyd. As I said before, work is not done. It's not just about just holding people accountable for what they're doing, but it's just to make sure that we continually stand up for what's right. And so that not a single person of color feels afraid to leave their house or even just call the police in the most recent incident that we saw. You know, we want to just continue to just shed that positive light so that we can keep moving in the right direction. So once again, I really do appreciate everything that you do with this platform by putting that on the forefront, because a lot of people skim past it, but you started it off and you also closed with it as well. So I really do appreciate that.
And I appreciate your words there as well. Does anyone else have anything that they want to add to this?
I just want to say thank you for adding me. It's such a great opportunity. Since I've known you, you've always been nothing but positive energy. And I'm so excited to see where this goes, just not for myself, but for everybody. 'Cause you guys are honestly fun to talk to. I love it here.
So let me go ahead and give everybody a little backstory here really quickly for those who aren't familiar with this. Dolph and I first had Xtreme Sports when we were both students at Savannah State. We ran the program from 2015 all the way until the spring of 2018. We took that last semester we had off and we completely just dialed in and locked in to do what we had to do to get our degrees and get up out of there. But I first met Ray in the fall of 2017, I believe it was. I had heard about her through a couple of mutual friends. I don't want to call any names out right now because I can't remember who those mutual friends were, so I don't want to get them mistaken. But I heard about Ray through a couple of mutual friends. I followed her on Twitter, and I saw some of the things that she was posting, especially when it came to the world of sports. And I was just like, this is somebody that we need to have on our side. This is somebody we need to have on our team. She needs to have her voice heard. She needs a platform. And I finally had a chance to talk to Ray in person in January of 2018. Savannah State was having a basketball game, and I was actually doing color commentary for the men's game. And right before the game started, I was able to connect with Ray. We were able to chop it up. Took us a couple of months to get this thing back up on the forefront, but when we were still with WSSU 104.1 FM, this was during Orange Crush weekend in 2018. And I had heard that Ray was in town. And I hit Ray up as soon as I could, because Dolph, you'll remember this. With WSSU, we had a 24-hour protocol system when it came down to guests that were going to be on your show. If you didn't have them in 24 hours before your show, you couldn't get them in. We were able to get Ray on the show that day right as that hour was dwindling down. We got the form signed and everything. And she came in, she did a show with us. It was instant magic, and I just knew we just had to find a way to keep this thing going. So like I said, it is our pleasure. It is our honor to have you here, and we just can't wait to continue to grow and develop with each other. All right, so with that being said, we just want to thank everybody for joining us here tonight. Dolph, did you have any closing thoughts you wanted to add? Because I saw that you opened up there for a second.
Nah, you kind of really just hit it. But yeah, glad to have you on board.
For sure. All right, we want to thank everybody for joining us this evening. And we'll be coming back to you guys really soon. Hopefully you guys like the content that we came out here with you with tonight as far as it comes down to an NFL draft. This is always a great time of the year for Dolph and myself. We love to make these predictions. We always love to bring Eli into the conversation. And shout out to all of our other guests who were also here tonight. Lawrence, he had to step away to get some things taken care of. We thank him for being here. We're glad Ray is on the team. And like I said, we don't want to tell you guys when we'll be coming to you next because we're not sure, but just know we'll be hollering at you again real soon. But until then, everybody stay easy, stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you when we see you.